Noted for having a diverse population, an excellent public school system, and great parks, Rockville was ranked as being one of America's best places to live by Time magazine in 2014. But the formula for being a great city comes from our very own residents, those who inspire us, help us, teach us, and show everyone living in Rockville how a community really works. I'm Rocío Snowdy, and welcome to Rockville's favorite neighbors. After a doctor's diagnosis of osteoporosis, Castilla McNamara of Rockville took up fencing, and it gave her the inspiration to do something as a way to strengthen her bones, but also fuel her competitive spirit.
I saw fencing listed on the Rockville, the city recreational book, so that's how I learned about fencing. So I came here and I had a discount from the city, which was nice, and I started with beginners class. Once a week I came and I finished I think that was 11-week course for the summer. I finished that and went into intermediate, and that was just the beginning of everything.
6 months after starting a beginner's course, Castilla happened to be in the right place at the right time.
It was December. This club had a tournament and they needed one more fencer, one warm body to make this magic 15. They needed 15 people. I happened to walk in and, well, do you have your gear? We need one more person. Well, I do have my gear in my car. That was my first tournament, and that was fun. I couldn't win, but that was fun.
Recently, Castilla and her team, the Rocking Geriatrics, traveled to Curacao in the Caribbean and came back with 15 medals in all 3 events: foil, épée, and saber.
That was amazing. I had my deputies, I appointed my deputies because there was so much going on at the event, and I'm the one who's doing all the arguing and the negotiating, but sometimes I just cannot think, when so much is going on. So it was nice to have my deputy for foil, deputy to épée, and then deputy for saber. They would advise me, okay, well, how about if we do this way instead of that way, and that was very helpful. And then we had a team event on top of it. So the first day that was foil, so we all did individual foils. So I competed and they competed. And after that, we all got together and did the team event on the same day. We were there from 7 in the morning to 11 o'clock at night. We were tired. We did well, but we were exhausted.
And if you're thinking, that looks easy, think again. I was given the opportunity to spar with one of Castilla's teammates, and it was a lot harder than it looked.
Competing, being confident when I do well, and that makes me feel good, and being able to do new moves and something new. That's exciting to me.
Her energy is contagious, as evidenced in her victory shout.
Yeah!
For Rockville 11, I'm Rocío Snowdy.
Hi, this is Rocío Snowdy with the Meet Your Neighbor segment. April 22nd marks Earth Day, for the city of Rockville, Earth Month. But Chuck Woolery, a Rockville resident and a self-proclaimed extreme environmentalist, has been celebrating nature his whole life.
I thought protecting the environment was the most important thing in the world.
Rockville resident Chuck Woolery is not your average environmentalist.
And so I shifted from being, I would take my classes out, we would clean up the street, and we'd do litter cleanups, and so that, it just turned me not away from the environment, but looking at the world from a different perspective. And now it's obvious that they're combined. If you want to end poverty, have them clean up the environment and pay them. It's a real simple solution.
While living a sustainable lifestyle and leaving almost no carbon footprint, his true passion is valuing the human race in its relation to nature.
What it comes down to is our values. What do we value? And right now we don't necessarily value nature. and we don't necessarily value lives of people beyond our shores. And it's coming back to haunt us, and will continue to come back and haunt us until we get the message in life. So I always used to be concerned about overpopulation, but I learned early on that overpopulation was really a misnomer, that it wasn't there was too many people and not enough food. It was that there just wasn't the political will to end the hunger, that we had more than enough food. I had told my mom early on the first energy crisis, I hate politicians. I will never get involved in politics. And then to find out that that was the key to ending that problem. So I started getting more politically active. Not in the terms of Republican or Democrat, but just trying to influence policymakers on how to deal with the issue of hunger.
After approaching the problem from a political standpoint, a chance encounter gave Chuck the opportunity to see firsthand the problem he had been lobbying against his entire career.
When I was working with the Alliance for Child Survival, I got picked up by a taxi cab driver, and he had this little picture of children up on his dashboard. And I asked him, what's that about? Big mistake. 10 years later, I'm down in Haiti with him, building the school. I'd always worked on development and hunger and poverty issues from a conceptual, a mental perspective, but never really experienced it other than dieting as a wrestler, but starving myself as a wrestler. So I didn't really understand it from experiential. So I used this as an opportunity to try to, number one, to learn about it from a first-hand experience, but also to make a difference. We also had a lot of resources here that we'd ship down to them, and so that was always a fun thing to do, was to fill a shipping container with stuff and get it down there, particularly after the earthquake. It was very helpful.
Although effective in practicing his global philosophies, Chuck felt it was necessary to bring his passion to a local level.
I had never ever thought about buying a house, having a house. I wanted to be kind of a nomad and roaming around, and my wife wanted a house, so I thought, okay, let's do it. And we came to Rockville, and I just liked the name Rockville. It's just my main commitment, though, was to try to have a house that represented a connection to the environment, and to have try to make it a zero footprint in terms of environmental impact. And so when I started doing the additions on the house, I wanted to make sure that we had a rooftop where we could have a roof garden. And solar, and so the roof was built with the intention of putting a lot of weight on it. And I had structural engineers to help me out with that, and so we did a pretty good job. Haven't caved in yet.
And last fall, Chuck's efforts were acknowledged by the city when he received the Environmental Excellence Award for, amongst other things, his work in eradicating invasive plants.
When I would drive down the road, I would see all this wonderful greenery on the side of the road, and then to learn that most of that, 90% of it, is invasive species. It's not really supposed to be there, and that it's actually destroying the interconnectedness of the environment as it was created, and destroying basically our biosphere, and it has impact on our water, has impact on our soil, has impact on our health. And then one day I was watching TV, and it was the Pac-10 wrestling championships, and these are college guys, or NCAA, and I'm watching them. I think, wow, I used to do that. I actually used to wrestle these guys, this weight class, that caliber. Why don't I go out and tackle the plants like that? And so I did, and suddenly it became a workout program. It was one of the best workout programs I've ever found, to go in and wrestle with these plants and take them out of the ground. And it's important to make sure you don't disturb the soil too much. But for the most part, it was now my motivation is to go into the forest and get a workout.
As an ambassador of the environment on a global and local level, Chuck has a surprisingly simple philosophy.
Our bodies were created in the context of nature. In other words, nature engineered our bodies to be a certain way, to live a certain way. And one of the key factors in that is to be active, to be actually moving around, doing stuff a lot, and to learn things. If you don't learn things and be aware of your environment, you got eaten. And so if young people find out that they're unhappy, they know they're missing something. They just don't know what it is. I'm going to suggest to get involved with nature, to get involved with another group of people who are making a difference, that you'll probably find an answer there.
In honor of election season, we spoke to Sima Asabe, a neighbor and a leader for whom civic engagement and leadership has not just been for a season, but has been a part of her entire life. I'm Rocío Snowdy, and this is Meet Your Neighbor.
I was born during World War II. So I'm a pre-baby boomer.
At a young age, Sima Asabe got a taste for civic engagement through seeing her parents actively participating in their community, and later by helping a friend's father with his political campaign in her hometown of Woodridge, New York.
My parents were very involved in our community, and neighbors, it was a wonderful neighborly place, and well, everybody knew everybody else's business, of course. But I grew up with this very strong sense of community and being involved in a community, and then John F. Kennedy was elected when I was in high school, and that inspired a lot of us. I got involved in working in campaigns when I was really kind of young, because my best friend's father was running for, I can't remember what it was actually, and he and there were 3 people running on a slate who were going to sweep the town clean, and they were giving out brooms, little brooms and stuff. It was a cute campaign, so I got involved, just because we, well, they're friends. That was the thing to do.
Her work has taken her to countries near and far as she has observed elections. Her work overseas has given Sima a different perspective on elections in the U.S. and the places she is sent to observe.
In a lot of the countries that I work in, they weren't democracies, and they were authoritarian in one way or another. And so as they have developed new systems, or they're transitioning into a new democratic system, they need, and they got help from us and other mature democracies about how you do it. How do you set up elections? Okay.
Election observation started in Bosnia when the country fell apart and needed outside help. In order for other countries to build a democratic election system, the Organization for Security and Cooperation steps in and looks at human rights and democratic institutions, all done through treaties that are in place today.
The Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. And it has, at this point, 56 countries. It includes the US and Canada. It's different than, say, NATO. It includes the US and Canada, most of Western Europe, and all of the former Soviet Union. One of the conditions of membership is that you're going to abide by a set of standards in how you hold your elections, how you conduct your government, and a whole bunch of other stuff. But for the elections are easy, they're measurable, yeah, and they take place at a limited period of time. So one of the things that countries have to do is they have to agree to let the other member states come in and observe their elections and comment on them. Okay.
Asabe moved to the Newmark Commons neighborhood in Rockville, specifically because the city was an incorporated municipality and had its own government.
We deliberately wanted to live in Rockville, and people said, "You're moving out of what was my very fancy zip code to Rockville." I said, "Yeah, the services are better." And we've stayed here since 1980. Every time we thought we would move, we've really had a hard time matching all the pros of living here. This is a wonderful neighborhood and community, and it really had an impact. It has some of the things that I was talking about the little town that I grew up in.
She is seeing firsthand the work she does and the positive impact it has on the once ailing countries.
Practice makes perfect. It's like in music. The more you practice, the better you get. The more you have elections, the more people work at it, the more you look at unbiased observations, and it's not necessarily criticism, the more you work on making a system work.
Shortly after this interview, Sima left for 10 days to observe the parliamentary elections in the Ukraine. One more example of a Rockville resident making a difference on the world stage. For Rockville 11, I'm Rocío Snowdy.
In this edition of Meet Your Neighbor, we meet Paul Stankus, a loving father and a dedicated citizen who is shaping the community's youth through his writing.
Who wants to be an author? Well, there's a lot of you out here that want to be an author. Well, that's great, because that's what I'm here to talk about. Well, the children are our future, and it is important for all of us to educate the next generation.
Paul's contribution to society's youth isn't just his passion, it's also his profession.
What I do in my professional life, I help get the funds for the schools. so that they can get their education technology that they need to educate their students. In my personal life, I am trying to be a community leader and to help educate them in other ways, so that I can try to help them understand what it means to be a good corporate citizen, a good community citizen, and to put their own ideas together, because a lot of the ideas that are going to come up in the next 10 to 15 years haven't even been thought of yet.
As a child, Paul's inspiration came from the books he read.
I was a voracious reader. Every year I would probably read 50, 100, 150 books. Anytime I would get books on the shelf, I would read through them cover to cover. And for me, that was my way to find new horizons. I always would read books about adventure or mystery or nonfiction. You put a book in my hand and I would read it cover to cover. I've always been a voracious reader, and that's why it's always been very important to me. And it makes me better as an author because I do so much reading.
Besides writing, his commitment to being a leader is an integral part of who he is.
For me, it's always important to give back to the community. The community has given so much to me, I should return the favor and give much back to them. So I volunteer, I do election type stuff, I do stuff for the community, for our homeowners association, I do citizens assembly. So I do a lot of different things, things that interest me, things that are important. For example, when I first released Dad Desperately Needed Training Wheels, I partnered with BizArts. And my goal was to raise enough money with the profits from the book sales that I could send a kid to camp.
His aspirations of being a better citizen were all enhanced when his son Alex was born, and his writing became even more personal.
I started writing what I felt natural writing. So for me, I dabbled as a child. I wrote some poems and I got a few short stories published, but I really didn't do anything with it. I went on to more worldly pursuits, but after my son was born, I decided that I really wanted to focus more on my writing. The children's book idea just came to me. It was something that I hadn't even anticipated. An incident happened one day, and I took the germ of that incident and turned it around into something that was completely fictionalized, but enabled me to put a children's book together. And part of it was me saying, what does it take to build a children's book? So for me, it was a learning experience myself. I was teaching myself how to produce my own book. It took me 16 drafts in order to do it, marrying things together, and there's a lot of work involved behind the scenes. But it was a project for me to force me out of my own comfort zone in order to grow myself.
While his work is personally gratifying, Paul's mission is to leave an everlasting impact on others.
I always try to find a way of giving to a volunteer organization or a charity and to partner with them. So I'm always looking for new charities to partner with and new opportunities.
For Rockville 11, I'm Rocío Snowdy.
And here's Marcus sitting there and
If there was ever a Mr. Rockville Award, its recipient would be Jonathan Freda, PE teacher, assistant track and football coach, and assistant athletic director for Richard Montgomery High School. I'm Rocío Snowdy, and this is Meet Your Neighbor.
Growing up in the area, Freda, as everyone calls him, took advantage of all the opportunities Rockville had to offer. His jobs range from playground counselor, teen programs leader, and his most recent position as a leader and training coordinator.
I grew up in Woodley Gardens, born and raised in Rockville, and I think everything that I'm doing today had a lot to do with growing up in the city of Rockville, in the rec department as a counselor, and just being involved in all the programs that the city of Rockville had to offer.
It was precisely in high school when Freda realized all he ever wanted to do was to come back and teach and coach at Richard Montgomery.
I don't know, maybe I had too much fun in high school, but I wanted to come back to high school and I don't want to say relive it, like I wanted to live in the high school days, but those were some of the best times of my life. And I think just the diversity of the city of Rockville, the diversity of Richard Montgomery, I don't think there's too many places quite like it, and I really think it helped, again, make me who I am today. I don't know if I would have the friendships and be able to coach and deal with kids the way I can now without the city of Rockville or Richard Montgomery. So that's the effect that it had on me.
Freda graduated from Towson University with a degree in physical education years later and worked up to become one of the youngest athletic directors in Montgomery County Public Schools at 27 years of age.
I was a very young athletic director, and once you made that move into that position, there was a lot of there's a lot of politics involved. It's a much bigger responsibility, and you're behind a desk and it's not as interactive with the kids. So I think the challenge was it started almost to feel a little bit like work, which is one of the reasons why I made that move back to teaching and coaching. It was just a few years ago where the kids that I had in like the teen programs or the playgrounds at the city of Rockville, some of them, they're seniors now. It's like when they get to high school, the seniors, I've known some of them for almost, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years, depending upon what program I'm doing with the city of Rockville. I have 2,200 children here at Richard Montgomery.
Freda has known for a long time what he's always wanted to do, but he also realizes that not everyone will have their lives all figured out. To those people, he has this advice.
I think me knowing what I wanted to do was rare, and it's okay not to know exactly what you want to do, but while you're figuring it out, it's important to get involved in a number of different things so you can figure it out. So I think that's important to you don't necessarily have to marry an idea that you want to do forever at age 16, 17, or 18, but get involved, experience things, work, have different jobs, different activities, so that you can figure it out and see what you like.
For more information about the city's camps, classes, and leaders in training program, go to the city's website at rockvillemd.gov/recreation. For Rockville 11, I'm Rocío Snowdy.
1, 2, 3. Ready! Good work.
Mentors have always played an important role in Crystal and Antoine Hawkins' life. Founded in February 2014, Young Women of Society has set out to mold better daughters, sisters, leaders, and greater women of society.
This was our first mentors was in my life, majority of my life. The main story I can remember is my senior teacher doing the Adopt a Senior program, and she paid for my whole prom, got my dress made, got my hair done, and so that's what make mentoring just awesome to me, because it's needed. It's just needed.
When you're growing up and you see a need for that, it's like, you have to put something in place, because, I once was there before, and her as well.
The nonprofit organization meets bi-monthly and provides the girls with mentors, ways to engage in their community, and has workshops that focus on health, character building, leadership, and core values.
What made me start Young Women of Society is I was trying to cater to the girls who are wearing the crop tops, the face full of makeup, the ones who look like they're being neglected. And come to find out, they have supporting parents. It's just the kids are taken to negativity, and that's what's influencing them to do what they're doing. So it's not the parents, it's actually what the kids are being exposed to when they go to schools, when they go out in the world. Facebook, social media is really raising the kids right now.
With 4 girls of their own, Crystal and Antoine saw a need to provide young girls with a sense of identity and belonging, and work with the parents in order to provide a template for achievement.
Just the fact that some moms find it mandatory for their daughters to come to these workshops, that's exciting to me, because like one of the girls, she have her grandmother raising her, and just the fact that her grandmother is 60-something years old, she's like, like, God bless you. And I'm just like, no, you are one of the reasons I do stuff like that, because I want her to learn how to appreciate you.
In July 2014, Crystal was recognized as a hometown hero by a local radio station, and realizing that there was more work to be done, she applied and received the Youth Practitioner Scholarship from the Howard and Geraldine Pollinger Family Foundation, and started her course to becoming a youth development practitioner.
We went to WPGC 95.5, and the girls met Sunny in the City, and they met Justine Love was our tour, our guider that day. We went into this room, she spoke with the girls for about 20 minutes. I didn't even expect her to do it, but it was like that great aunt that you have who wants to give you that knowledge, like, hey girls, you gotta be doing this and doing that, and I was like, yes. But when we left, I received a phone call about 2 weeks later. And well, actually, I received the email, and she said that we were looking for a hometown hero, and it just so happened, well, her words were, you know, it was God that led me to your business card that was laying outside on the brick wall. And she was like, when I saw it, I was just like, I have to reach out to you.
With its diverse population and engaged civic community, the city of Rockville was a natural fit for this couple's generosity.
We love Rockville. We've been in Rockville since 2009 and love it. We had the opportunity to move to Gaithersburg this year, and we was just like, no, we're just gonna stay in Rockville. It's a great place to raise your kids, for one. It's not a surprise for the kids to, you know, have a Caucasian friend or Asian friend or a Chinese friend. This is normal to them. You know, as to when we was growing up, that wasn't normal. But now it's just normal for the kids to have different type of friends, and that's the best part. You know, that's how it's supposed to be.
When asked if they had any parting words of wisdom for today's youth, they said,
I would just tell them, look for wise people. Talk, you know, ask questions.
Listen to your parents.
Of course, listen to your parents.
Stay in school.
Of course, stay in school. Don't try to be like other people.
Just say no.
Don't go with the hype. Just be yourself.
Be yourself, yeah.
And stay a kid as long as you can stay a kid, because there's no rush.
If you or anyone you know would like to contribute or find out more about Young Women of Society, contact ywofsociety@gmail.com. For Rockville 11, I'm Rocío Snowdy. Now that we've shown you more reasons as to why the city of Rockville truly is one of the best cities, we hope these stories have inspired you to share yours. If you or your neighbor have a story to tell, write to meetyourneighbor@rockvillemd.gov. For Rockville 11, I'm Rocío Snowdy.